Hi, I'm Kevin Smet, a student at Learning Alias, and welcome to part 3 of the series on hull alignment. So you can see I have again left off where I was before. We've checked several boundaries for continuity, and we got that continuity pretty good, except at this locator here, where we don't have the continuity. Now, before I want to go further, I just want to take a quick, holistic look at the model the way it is. So I'm going to use some shaders, I'm going to use some comb plots, I'm going to use the locators, exactly like the one I have selected, and just to see what we've got. So first of all, I'm going to check the locators. So the locators are all green, but I know I changed this surface around a little bit because I had to align it with the theoretical rear screen. So I'm going to check all this on and just do a quick check whether all my boundaries are still okay. Oh, we've got a problem here, and that's alright. So basically a gap. I'm not even worried about this at all, because we have matching hulls on both surfaces. So it's simply a matter. Now, I know I aligned this surface, and that's basically this continuity, which was aligned using the align tool in part 2. So I know this is my master surface. I don't want to change it. So I'm going to change the other one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in, and I have a little pick box selector. I'm going to select the other surf, move, I'm just going to control snap. Same thing, pick the other surf CV, control snap, and boom, we've got up to curvature continuity. So we just created a little gap with the align. You could see it was a small gap. That's why I love matching hulls. You can just snap them together, and position problems are just so much easier to fix. So whenever possible, try to strive to have surfaces that connect to each other maintain the same amount of CVs, so that all the CVs can form rows that connect. You can see? Okay, so let's take a look at this deviation locator. Now, with the locators on, it does bog the model down a little bit. You can see when I'm rotating around, it's getting chuggier. Maybe that's not going to be very evident on the recording, but it's physically getting chunkier rotating. It's not quite as smooth. So if we dump all the locators that we know are good, and we start deleting them one by one, there we go. Oh, well, that's okay. I'll just put it back. It's much smoother to rotate now, because it doesn't have to do all those calculations. So I'm going to go back here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the information window with the locator still checked, and I'm going to give myself some more checkpoints just to smoothen out the comb a little bit. And these are my tolerances. That's all good. So I can see from the readout that I have tangency's really good, position's really good. I mean, it's not CATIA V5, but it's really good. And curvature deviation's really bad. But you can see it's only bad along this section of the comb and this little spike. But it's just a spike. No one cares. So what I'm going to do first and foremost is I'm going to check, and I'm just going to look at the CVs and see if I don't see anything weird. So I'm going to... Yeah, see, I can see it straight away. These CVs are in too far, and I'm going to try and highlight them. I'm going to put my draw style back to the big X's. You can see these CVs are too deep in. Now, if I use the non-proportional viewing tool, and I stretch it out, Let me see. You always have to look a little bit. There. See how when I look at it like this, these are dipping in way too much. So this CV is pretty okay. This CV is pretty okay too, but these two CVs are definitely too low. They definitely sink in way too much. So that's something that I'm going to have to fix, and I think that just doing that, it's going to make a big difference and the continuity will be substantially improved. But I don't want to do that first, because if I'm going to start pulling this CV and I'm going to start pulling it up, then it's going to say it's going to kill the construction history. I don't want to do this quite yet, because yeah, the boundary comb locators only tell me, oh, just this boundary is bad and everything else is good. But I don't want to trust just the locators. So I'm going to say no right now. So I keep my construction history. And I'm going to delete the locator. So I've checked the whole surface set with the boundary comb locators. But that's only like maybe 25% of evaluating a surface set. I mean, maybe, if that. The really useful tools are the shaders. So you remember, I wasn't really a big fan of shaders in parts 1 and 2, but you know, I really am a big fan of shaders, just not for all the way at the beginning. So I'm going to use ISO angle. ISO angle is, to me, the one of the best tools for judging highlight flow. And let's just see. I'm just going to select the whole model, and then I get a little manipulator. And I'm going to drag this so it's pretty much kind of looking down at the region of the blend, which is the region of what I'm interested in. And I'm going to put it on multiple, and I'm going to put the bands up. I tend to use about 3 or so when I'm just judging ISO angle, but I also like turning on visual curves, and then I like to have a little more. So I just put the slider all the way to the right. And if you punch in a number, you get more still. If you punch in really, you know, but 7's like the default highest end of the slider here, and I tend to use it a lot. So what you can do with ISO angle is very powerful. You can move your view, but the highlight stays. This is one of the most beneficial things about ISO angle. You can move the view around and really see the problems. For example, with the horizontal vertical bars, every time you move the view around, it's changing. You know, it's changing all over the place. It's difficult to focus on what's really going on. However, with ISO angle, it stays put. And you've got that little manipulator, so if you want to sweep it around to see different angles, you can do so quite easily. So what does ISO angle tell us? Well, first of all, ISO angle tells us, let's not kid ourselves, that this is pretty good. Okay, this is pretty good highlight right off the bat. And let me see. This is a little chunky. I don't think that that's reality. So I'm going to turn my shading even slightly more accurate. Maybe all the way 001. This is going to take a little bit longer. Yeah, see, it's getting better, though it's still a little chunky, but I don't want to drop it down anymore. So that's very important when you're judging highlight analysis, that your tolerance setting is set low enough. Also, draw precision, and if you want to, you can use the limit edge length as well. And basically, these analysis tools, they take your NURBS meshes, your perfectly accurate NURBS surfaces, and they tessellate it to form triangles, essentially. And on that mesh is what the analysis tool is actually being projected on. So you have to make sure it's fine enough, or you will not get the truth. So you see, it's very beautiful indeed. But there is a little bit of a problem. I can see it right here. There's a little hump. You can see it really well where the white and the red band intersect. Follow my cursor here. It's all steady, steady, steady. Then there's a little hump, and then it's back to normal, and then you get this beautiful sweeping motion into the C-pillar. It's a very slight little bump though. I don't even know if it's really worth playing around trying to fix this, because remember, this is a blend that's still somewhat in the higher end concept phase. You know, we're exploring the form. It's not like we're going to take this model to tooling. I mean, a lot more work is going to have to get done on this, putting in split lines and gaps to really, before we would ever release this to engineering. So we're just checking it out, and I look at it from another angle and you see the same thing. You see that hump, and it seems to be on every band. So this red band has a little hump, the red-white band has a little hump, and so forth. That's a little bit of a problem, but it's not a huge issue. So with ISO angle in check, what I like to do is look at the visual curves, which are the blue lines. You can do wireframe for that. And, well, here they don't connect because the surface didn't exist there anymore. That's okay. You can see a tiny little deviation, but that's probably within tolerance. So don't worry. Yeah, there's a deviation, but it's within tolerance, probably. That's what the locators tell us. So ISO angle is such a precise, such an accurate tool, you can start seeing problems all over the place. You know, and that's very dangerous. At least in this stage of the process. So let me go back into ISO angle. I'm going to pick the whole model and I'm going to turn off visual curves. And I'm going to go back into the regular showroom shader. So ISO angle is looking pretty good. So now I'm going to try and highlight this with the regular shaders. To me personally, I hold the regular shaders to heart because I think they're the most realistic. So something like a showroom shader even is a little idealized. You know, this perfectly crisp single highlight. But it's still much closer to reality than ISO angle, I mean, if you zoom in really tight, it shows you all the problems. Showroom, it's a little bit more relaxed. You can have some slight problems in the surface set, in the continuity, and it will still look good. However, if you have any significantly evident problems, you will notice. So again, I feel like I can see that little hump in the showroom shader. I can just see that. Let me zoom in on that and put my cursor a little bit above where the hump is, you know, like, can you see the characteristic of the hump? I'll move over it with my cursor now, dead on. So ISO angle wasn't lying. And it's noticeable, but it's not a huge problem. What I'm looking for primarily is distinct seams, real visible edges in your model. I'll break the surface set at the end of the video and I'll show you exactly what to look for. So showroom's pretty good, but we've got some other shaders. I'm a big fan of Shade Sky too because I don't know, it's a really realistic depiction. It shows you kind of a general sky atmosphere, and you know,